Jem throws an all-star benefit concert with some very familiar-looking stars, the Misfits try to sabotage it, and some kids have some issues. Also, bears. Battle of the Network shows. Join Rick Brooks and Mike Kogel as they explore the TV of the 70s and 80s through hand-picked episodes of their favorite and not-so-favorite series.
Welcome to another Battle of the Network shows. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rick. Hello, everybody.
And this one's going to be truly outrageous, I think.
Truly outrageous. Truly outrageous.
This is another listener poll episode.
Mm-hmm.
We asked listeners to choose between three 80s cartoons. We had the Inspector Gadget, the Real Ghostbusters, and Jem and the Holograms. And again, over Facebook group and Instagram and Facebook page and our website, Jem barely beat out Inspector Gadget for the winning slot, and frankly, I'm glad. I've seen a lot of Inspector Gadget in my day, and I don't know if I need to see any more Inspector Gadget. But I hadn't seen much Jem or any Jem, so this was intriguing.
I was aware of it. I had sisters that had the toys and was aware of the cartoon, but I was a boy, so I wouldn't be caught dead watching Jem.
Apparently, boys did watch it though.
Yeah.
In fact, I know one of our listeners, Tim from the 20th Century Popcasts, which is a fun podcast. If you need some more people talking about the late 20th century, he wrote a pretty cool essay on their website about what Jem means to him. And it's a nice way to see that any piece of pop culture can mean something to somebody.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah. At the time, I totally discounted Jem.
Yeah.
And I think part of it, the fact that I did have sisters, made it worse, or made me less likely to watch it because my sisters were enjoying it.
Yeah.
So, of course, and it was such an association with the dolls. But then again, I didn't really watch G.I. Joe that much either.
Right.
And Transformers, not so much. And this was kind of in that afternoon, and I guess originally started on the weekends, but I just wasn't watching this kind of cartoon as much as maybe a lot of the other kids were. I was more into like some of the older stuff.
Right. By the time this started, I probably was at the tail end of watching cartoons.
Yeah.
And there would have been the double stigma of watching a cartoon and watching a cartoon that seemed to be for girls.
Right.
But I might have been intrigued by it because of the connection to G.I. Joe and like the music thing, which I was definitely getting into music at that point. So and although not MTV so much, but which has a huge influence on it.
This seems to be inspired by MTV, but maybe just like a year or two after kind of like the cultural peak of MTV.
Right.
But still, MTV was definitely flying high and all sorts of things. So it was kind of a little delay, but you started seeing like the ripple effects and other things starting to be influenced and rock and music videos kind of having their influence on the rest of pop culture.
Yeah.
And this is kind of an example of that, but maybe this is a little bit after like Miami Vice premiering and kind of like the rock and wrestling peak and kind of things like that. So it did well though.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that it was one of the top 5 cartoons for a long time.
And before we get too far into Jem, let me just back up a little bit and say that while this one won a poll, and we do like to do our polls each season, we're also always soliciting ideas, and we're always looking for feedback on what you might like us to cover. I think we're locked in for the rest of this season, but for next season, right now it's wide open, and if you do have an idea of something you'd like us to talk about, feel free to reach us through any of the media that Mike mentioned earlier, and we'd be glad to consider it for our next season or future seasons.
Exactly, especially if it involves holograms.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I mean, we might be getting our fill of holograms this season, but
that's true. But we won't take them off the table.
No,
we'll consider hologram shows too.
And clearly, we're willing to talk about something we didn't watch.
Yeah, I think actually there's something else coming up this season that I have even less exposure to.
Yes.
But this is one that is new to me in many ways. I only knew it through the commercials, probably.
Yeah.
The toy commercials.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So three cartoon seasons. I find that all weird.
Yeah.
It was 65 episodes.
Yeah, seasons is a little loose. It started out as a weekend show.
And like in segments.
Yeah.
Not even full segments. So the first, I think, 5 episodes were originally presented in segments in an anthology type series.
Right, and Jem was the clear winner of that anthology series. The other ones didn't really last very long.
Yeah, for some reason, a cartoon about a monster truck didn't.
Yeah. Right.
And whatever the Inhumanoids are.
Yeah, if only Larry the Cable Guy had been around to voice one of those monster trucks, maybe it would have endured, but
yeah,
it was a little bit ahead of its time, I think.
But produced by the same people who did G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Hasbro, but also the Sunbow, which was connected to an ad agency, and then Marvel Animation.
Yeah.
And it definitely has elements of those 2 shows.
Yeah.
In terms of just kind of the look and the music a little bit, although there's a lot more music and sort of the adventure aspects to it.
And on a side note, somebody needs to write the definitive history of Marvel Animation Studios.
Yeah.
Because I would love to read it.
I would too.
That's kind of a forgotten part of their legacy that people don't talk about anymore a lot. So, yeah.
But they did a lot of stuff in the 80s.
They sure did, yeah.
But, of course, based on these dolls, and who I guess gave Barbie a run for her money for a little while.
Yeah, it seemed like quite a challenge and quite a competition as mysteriously around the same time Barbie and the Rockers appeared as well.
Yeah, weird.
what a coincidence.
Yeah, and even had the same diverse makeup of band members.
I mean, clearly this sort of delayed reaction to the MTV explosion hit both these major toy companies at exactly the same time.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess those things happen.
Yeah. And now I think, like watching those toy commercials, which are on the DVDs, which a friend graciously loaned us, because these are nowhere to be seen online right now. It's pretty cool that they all came with cassettes.
Yes.
Even if the music is not great all the time. It's still cool. And that one of the playsets had a cassette player built into it.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like very, like something that might happen now. Like, there was one with a cassette player, but there was another one that had like a, just like you have now, where you could hook up use a cable to hook up the headphone jack of your Walkman to it and play music through it.
Yeah.
And you have all kinds of crap like that now.
Yeah.
It might be Bluetooth now or something,
right.
But
I mean, that was like a big part of the experience. I mean, like for like us, growing up kind of in this time period, was you had like the boom box, was kind of like as portable as it got for a while. But cassettes was like the major medium for like me to listen to music.
Absolutely.
Like recorded music, because like LPs were kind of for our parents.
Yeah.
And they were a little bit harder to manage and more expensive and bigger and everything. But the cassette was like really more kid friendly and easier to use. And then when the Walkman came along and became prevalent, then you could listen to it and take it with you on family vacations. Yeah. You could listen to music everywhere.
Totally tune out the world.
Yeah. And that was a big thing too, like, things that were cassette play, because first you came out with like the functional cassette decks, and then you came out with cassette players that were toys or that were like different colors and kind of looked like other things and were branded and licensed. But the whole thing was like, hey, this is like the main way. And of course you would have like an AM/FM radio built in, radio tuner as well, and maybe you could even, like I would, record songs from the radio onto a cassette. Yeah. And then have the cassette for your permanent collection. Yeah. Or permanent until you threw away your cassette tapes.
Right, yeah. It didn't seem like any of the gem things were quite that sophisticated, but just being able to play the music there.
Yeah.
And have your dolls dance around or whatever.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It's definitely both the cartoon and the toys are like any of these things, a wish fulfillment kind of thing. And
right.
Or questions about whether kids should be wishing to be famous.
Yeah.
But it is. That's what our friend who loaned us the DVDs was telling me, that, she just found it all so glamorous and exciting when she was a kid.
Well, I mean, we're talking about MTV, but this is also the 80s, the glitz decade, and like Dynasty and Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous and Star Search and these kind of things about, fame, the TV show and the movie. Yeah. All these kind of things definitely, this aspirational lifestyle of glitz and glamour.
Now the cartoon does have an added layer of sort of, there's like an altruistic thing going on too.
Yes.
That
which I didn't know anything about.
Yeah, and so to me the four big Hasbro/Marvel things of the time.
Okay.
G.I. Joe, Transformers, Jem, and My Little Pony. Mm-hmm. And conceptually, this seems like definitely the most complicated thing. Mm. Like, I don't know what the concept of My Little Pony is, but given the age group, 2 to 11 year old,
yes,
And I think it's just cute ponies,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe, really simple. Soldiers fighting terrorists.
Right.
Or if you want to make it more complicated, soldiers fighting snake-themed terrorists.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's really not anything else to it, right?
Correct.
Transformers, good robots that can turn into stuff, fighting bad robots that can turn into stuff.
Yeah.
And there's some humans around.
Right.
This, I mean, you could just simplify and say it's good girls versus bad girls. But there's all this stuff about holograms.
Yeah. There is.
So Jem and the holograms Jem is actually an alter ego for Jerrica Benton. Mm-hmm. One of the daughters of a man who ran the Starlight Records yeah. And also had a home for foster children called the Starlight Foundation. So he's passed away when the cartoon starts, and she's inherited half the record company and this foundation. And then there's this other Eric Raymond who has the other half of the company and wants to take the whole thing so he can embezzle money from it.
Yeah.
And, she's 19 or 20 or something. It's a little vague. But she receives these earrings in the mail, and it turns out then this purple woman appears and says, oh, go to this place, and I'll explain more. And it turns out her dad also invented this, hologram projector computer machine. It also has, a bunch of musical keyboards on it and stuff hidden in a drive-in theater, and it can really do anything. It can change the appearance it can change people into other people in terms of how people are seeing them.
Yeah.
And there's also all this music gear there. And so they realize they can use this to try to defeat Eric Raymond at a battle of the bands he's going to have. But Jerrica becomes Jem, and it's very unclear why.
Yeah.
I mean, she looks more glamorous. There was an article I read, and I think you read, that suggested that she has this other persona because it wouldn't be cool to sign herself to her own record label. Hmm. But I watched the 5 original episodes, and that doesn't come up at all.
Yeah, that's...
And it's a little vague why she never tells anyone the band knows. Her poor boyfriend, Rio, doesn't know, and he's in love with both of them.
Yeah.
It's a weird inversion of a Lois Lane Superman thing, except for she never dated Clark Kent, while she was in love with Superman.
Right.
She might have dated Superman and not known Clark. I don't know, but it's strange, but it's kind of amusing too.
Yeah.
This guy is so confused.
Yeah.
But anyway, they become kind of an overnight sensation, and then eventually win another battle of the bands and win the whole record company, beating the bad girls, the Misfits, who there's only 3 of them for. I guess they get another one later, and they're always trying to sabotage things, and they are pretty bad girls. I mean, even some of the damage they cause is accidental, but through their behavior, they destroy TV studios. They almost cause a giant boat accident. It's just all sorts of stuff. Really, a lot of property damage, possibly on a level with the Who.
Yeah, right.
But they don't go to jail or incur any too big legal fees.
Yeah, I guess Eric Raymond is brilliant at manipulating the system to keep them out of trouble, apparently.
But in classic style of cartoons with villains, he's not quite brilliant enough and surrounds himself with people who maybe are not quite brilliant enough to ever succeed at what he wants to succeed at. He comes close. Oh, and they find a new home for the foster kids.
Yeah, Jerrica remains committed to keeping the foster home open and thriving.
Yeah, which is the altruistic part. And these kids are maybe, unfortunately, characters.
Yeah.
So, that's a lot going on. And then it's very kind of, it's like a mix of soap opera and some adventure stuff, which I guess they were trying to keep boys watching it by having this adventure stuff. But in the episodes I watched, that was, to me, the most boring stuff.
Yeah.
Generally. The soapy stuff was a little more interesting. And then there are these music videos. So there are 2 or 3 of those every episode that kind of have to do with the story. But one cool thing is they actually put up the MTV style graphic.
Yeah,
giving you the title and the band. Occasionally, somehow, it's a combination of both Jem and the Holograms and the Misfits. I don't know how that works since they hate each other, but and then visually...
Well, you know how that happened? Clive Davis.
Oh, of course.
He's the only guy that could get those 2 together.
Yeah.
They did it for Clive.
Should have known. But visually, they just, the animation, they really go to town on those and just do all sorts of weird stuff.
Right.
Which I was thinking, like, that's really innovative, and it is, and it's cool, but they're not the first show to have kind of musical interludes like that. Like the Beatles cartoon did that, and the Jackson 5 one.
The Monkees. Well, if you're talking about the cartoons, yeah.
Yeah, the Archies.
Right, right.
I don't think those were very spectacularly animated.
Yeah, I think some of the, I guess there was a little bit more dynamic animation in this, like some of the zoom-ins and the close-ups and things like that.
Right, and just like, it's a music video, so they can do they can break the rules of reality.
Right.
Rainbows and unicorns and whatever they want to do.
Right.
People falling off buildings. And
yeah. They were a little bit more abstract. I mean, by no means is like most of like Jem and the Holograms, it's not like a spectacularly animated series. The videos is kind of where they get a little bit more creative and show off some more things.
Yeah, the rest has the look of G.I. Joe or Transformers, but except for the color palette, of course, there's lots of pastels. And very 80s. Mm-hmm. Very 80s hair.
Definitely.
I don't remember anybody having green hair, but,
No, wouldn't surprise
other
me.
than that time Kimberly on Different Strokes.
Yeah, that's right.
Temporarily had green hair. But that's the gist of the cartoon, I guess.
Yeah, I would like to see a little bit more record industry intrigue.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, maybe although there were 65 episodes, and I've only seen a handful, maybe there's an episode where Jem and Eric Raymond fight over publishing rights or something like that. That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, in those initial 5, there was one where Jerica's sister, Kimber, who's in the band, apparently is the one writing all the songs. And
Oh, really?
Jem starts to get a lot of hype, and she gets briefly jealous, and Eric Raymond even tempts her that she should go solo.
Nice.
It doesn't last it lasts like 2 minutes, but but it's still, at least I acknowledged, because I was like, where are all these songs coming from?
Yeah.
And I mean, the music videos are sort of fantasy sequences, so it's like maybe those songs don't exist yet.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
Right.
And they do have to, like, there's they appear at this first battle of the bands. That's a surprise thing, and then a tape gets out, and then they meet like this VJ who appears briefly in the episodes we're going to talk about, and she hooks him up with a director, and then they get some help from this rich lady, and they end up going to Paris and filming a music video, and then they have to get that video onto TV and promote themselves. So it's, and I do like those initial things take place over 6 months or something. So it's not quite as fast as TV music stuff often is.
Yeah.
But of course it's still wildly unrealistic.
Yeah.
And I think in the 3rd season they introduced another band, the Stingers.
Yeah, I've read about them, but I don't remember them at all.
I don't know, anything about, other than the lead singer is a shirtless dude. And they look a little bit like a hair band.
Okay.
I doubt they sound like one.
Yeah. Yeah. The music is kind of interesting. I guess they pretty much had some consistency. They had like a lyricist throughout the course of the show. Somebody doing the music. I did like in one of the DVDs, the lyricist calling out the idiocy of fake rhymes and being indignant that like somebody trying to rhyme mind with time offends him because that's not a real rhyme. So I had to applaud that.
Yeah, that was good. They did like 151 songs, different unique songs.
Yeah, and I guess maybe towards the end of the run, maybe they started recycling the songs a little bit, but for a while you'd probably get 3 unique songs each episode, which was pretty good.
Yeah, that's a lot. Now, as I was watching these, to me the music didn't strike me as particularly 80s. Like, I mean, if I heard it, I would say it was probably made in the 80s, but it didn't like sound like anything I think of when I think the 80s. But then I watched this show we're going to talk about next episode.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this sounds exactly like...
Yeah.
But...
that makes sense.
So I don't want to spoil that, but, I mean, and that was an actual performer from that era. But it still doesn't... I don't know. I think it sounds like advertising music, which it is.
Ah, okay.
Maybe,
like jingles
or like cartoon music, and I'm guessing like the people writing the music were probably jingle writers.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
And like cartoon music, even in like the 2000s, sounded a little bit like this.
Yeah.
Like Pokemon theme songs and stuff.
Right.
It's not that different from the theme songs on these adventure shows in the 80s.
That's a great point. And if you look at like those vintage toy commercials, a lot of those songs had like a formula. For one thing, they're literal songs, which I love, where they're songs that are rhyming and everything, but they're talking about the product. So the whole point of the song is to explain the product. But it starts off like with the Jem kind of singing, and then and all of a sudden she builds up, and so it's like, Jem is gonna work you into a rage. And now she's on stage, and just scream the stage part, and just kind of explode on the highlight, which is like the name of the product, or kind of and like the same kind of style, like pretty much in each song, and it kind of goes along with what you're saying. It's kind of like that same kind of music style.
It's like Jem's got a speaker that's a playset. Yeah, Jim's got a speaker that's a playset.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yep. No need for pesky voiceover announcer when you've got a song to tell you, what you're buying.
Yeah. Maybe there's like a little bit of a holdover from disco or something, like some vague elements. And that all strikes me as right. Like when TV did rock and roll, when rock and roll was first, like it never sounded like rock and roll, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like someone trying to do.
Yeah.
A trained composer trying to get the elements of that, and it.
That's true.
Not quite doing it. So in a way that's right, but in a way it also makes it helps. I think the cartoons still kind of work. I mean, the songs are not great.
Yeah, well,
they're very short.
This is a much better, different example, like the Partridge Family. There's some pretty good musicianship, I think, on those recordings. And stuff.
That's true, and good writers.
But like on the show, I mean, they're like a certain kind of like peppy pop.
Yeah.
But on the show, it's like, well, this is rock, they're
right.
like rock stars,
And it went straight to Danny Bonaducci's head.
Yeah. straight into his head and straight up his nose, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe.
Which, speaking of which, that might be the one thing about 80s music that Jem does not get into.
Right.
Is some of the extracurricular activities associated with that MTV generation.
I imagine there must be a drug episode, but...
Yeah.
I mean, they do get into some vaguely heavy stuff, like Runaways, and in these episodes, there's something that, I mean, it really surprised me what they got into.
Yeah, and there's PSAs within the episodes.
The amount of anger and rage and energy the Misfits have. Pizzazz. She's always kicking stuff, and just, I don't know.
You think it's fueled by more than just Frankenberry cereal or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Alan Thicke would be shocked. Or, excuse me, not Alan Thicke.
Jason Seaver.
Jason Seaver, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's subtext, though, in the show.
Right. I hope there is a drug, or where, one of the holograms got into something.
Yeah.
Or maybe a metaphor for drugs.
Yeah, I think maybe drugs itself might be too much, but maybe, some kind of addictive behavior, or, like maybe video games, or some kind of, I don't know. I could see that, some kind of invention, like Eric Raymond comes up with some kind of, addictive video game.
Right.
And, one of the holograms kind of gets into it. And they have to have a talk with her.
Yeah. Why are you acting like this?
Yeah.
Shayna?
Yeah.
Is that?
I don't remember their...
Jem, Kimber, Aja.
Oh, yeah. Aja.
I think Shayna.
Starts in that. Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
There's the holograms.
And then there's Pizzazz, the one with white hair, and Stormer.
And Dopey and Sneezy.
Yes.
Yeah, Stormer.
Stormer, I remember, she had blue hair.
Okay.
And in the those 5 episodes, she shows that she's like a little bit of a potential. She's a potential to make a babyface turn.
Yeah. She's got a little bit of a conscience.
Yeah, she's not quite as mean as the other two.
Right.
But she also wants to be famous.
Yeah. Well, that's not a bad characteristic in the 80s, as we know. That's something to strive for.
And, of course, various saboteurs who are helping them out.
Yeah.
Tech Rat and Zipper for a while from a number of episodes.
Yeah.
He's cool because he wears a leather jacket, and on the back it says Zipper.
Yeah, why not? When you got a name that cool.
If you're going to plant a bomb somewhere, why not let people know?
Yeah, put on your regular jacket. No sense in hiding it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shady characters hanging around the music industry in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. I think Eric Raymond, too, is probably doing some...
Yeah, that I could easily see.
Yeah.
I could easily see that.
That's why he was embezzling money.
Yeah, I'm kind of... I'm kind of wondering who played him in the... They did a live-action movie that really disappointed a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And that seems like that role was tailor-made for, maybe Eric Roberts is too old for that now. But there must have been somebody cool to play that. Or, I could see... I don't know this, unless maybe it's in my subconscious. Judd Nelson, maybe.
I think that's because you just saw him on.
Well, it's
moonlighting.
because I've been trying to get Judd Nelson into reboots of various properties for years.
It's possible, they didn't have that character, but
Yeah, I mean, you need some kind of foil.
they did have Zipper.
Oh yeah,
Nathan Moore. I don't know who that is. I don't think they had. They had a VJ. Oh, Roxy was the other Misfit. Kesha played Pizzazz. Alicia Keys played Alicia Keys. Pratt played Chris Pratt. There was no Eric Raymond at all.
Ah, that's a shame.
Donnie the reporter, sure, but
Total lack of respect for the main heel in Gem and the Holograms.
yeah,
Maybe this is why the movie didn't do so well.
just that. No other reason.
Fans rejected it
Yeah,
because of the lack of Eric Raymond.
right.
A golden opportunity, a juicy role for a veteran actor
Yeah,
to do a sleazy record. It's possible that somebody saw that the Gem movie failed, and then they turned it into their next big project and learned from the lessons and turned it into Vinyl on HBO.
yes.
I think where they did what they couldn't do in the Gem movie, and they
Right. Bobby Cannavale got cut from the Gem movie.
yes. Brought a lot of that into this
Yeah.
other project, and episodic television is where the character was really meant to be, I think.
Well, maybe they'll reboot the Gem movie.
Yeah, there seems to be some issues. I saw that Christy Marks who's like the story editor and had been working on some of these similar cartoons. Was it Transformers or G.I. Joe?
G.I. Joe, yeah.
And was kind of plucked to develop, and she created a lot of the whole Gem mythology and everything. And
Yeah.
and kind of seems like she's been sounding the drum for an actual revival of the cartoon for years now.
Well, why not?
Yeah,
She-Ra's back.
yeah. She seems passionate about it.
They're making a He-Man movie.
I mean, I think there's some cachet to that to the character. I would think, notwithstanding the defeat of that live action movie.
Yeah.
I don't. See
But
why
I
they
think
couldn't do it again.
between nostalgia and just tapping into current pop music, it seems like you could win multiple audiences with that.
Yeah.
Because the characters are in the more glamorous side of pop music, and there's definitely a lot of that going on right now.
Right.
But there are also a lot of I don't know, like earnest teenage performers and things.
Yeah. You could do a whole lot of stuff actually with the whole notion of the hologram and the transformation. I mean,
Yeah.
Going to get into issues now like body image and self-image and social media. I mean, you could touch on a lot of those things with just this basic concept, really.
Yeah. And of course, holograms are. Maybe they should just do a Gem and the Holograms hologram tour.
Yeah, right.
What do you think of the whole hologram tour thing?
It seems like a little bit of a scam to me. I don't think I would. I mean,
Yeah.
the bottom line is, if they can get away with it and people want to pay money to see it, fine. But I guess the question for me is, would I go pay money to see a hologram of John Lennon or Jimi Hendrix?
Right.
No, I don't think I would.
Yeah. It seems
Not a
very
lot of it, anyway.
bizarre.
Yeah.
And then it's I guess real musicians playing with the hologram, which is confusing.
Yeah.
And that the holograms are still not far enough along that they don't look like ghosts.
Right.
And
I mean, maybe someday, but you'll still have that issue of and it's kind of like a philosophical discussion about music, right? Where I think even though we know that like you and I know that some of the best records of all time were made in the studio, with cobbling together things, but I think we have that preference for hearing music made organically with people playing live together.
Right.
And the idea of and even if it's some sophisticated backing track, and the idea of real musicians playing in addition to pre-recorded tracks, that just seems kind of inauthentic to me and not part of a live music experience. I mean, that might be cool to see in my home or something, but to actually go out and pay money to see that live, that seems like a little bit of a cheat.
Yeah. In the one sense, is it any different than watching a concert video?
Mm-hmm.
But it is, and because the people are dead. But
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, there's something a little ghoulish about it right now.
Yeah. And maybe, I don't know, because they usually take place in stadiums, and stadium sound is terrible. So
Yeah.
I was going to say, maybe hearing Roy Orbison's voice in glorious live sound is amazing, but I don't think it...
Yeah, and it kind of comes back to the whole thing of people expecting musicians to be frozen in time, because, I mean, they're not going to be doing new music. I mean, maybe they can dig up some unheard music,
Right.
but essentially it's just going out and doing a greatest hits tour, and it's like, well, there's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, is that really, like, artistically, what's the merit behind that?
Right. And part of live music is seeing, like, the interaction of musicians. Like, if it's a rock band, especially, like, seeing them, whatever, give each other a knowing look. Or even if they're faking, it's a choreographed thing.
Right. You want to see some level of spontaneity or plausible spontaneity.
Right.
And, yeah.
Yeah, a hologram right now can't improvise.
No.
Now, Jem could, because the hologram's just changing her appearance.
Right.
I assume Jerica has the same singing talent. I don't think the holograms. Although it is an audio-visual thing.
Could be, yeah. That would be an interesting question if it is. Like, it would be interesting that she has, like, an ethical feeling about not signing herself to the record label, or at least the appearance of such, but she has no problem with having, her voice be augmented by this, this technology.
Synergy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, synergy.
Yeah.
Synergy, it's Showtime. What's her...
Showtime synergy.
Yeah, Showtime synergy.
Show's over. Yeah. Which is another one of those cartoon things that you have to have some sort of cue to let the audience know.
Yeah. Everything's going back to normal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You can't just do it.
The gem sequence is over.
Yeah. And she, in the adventure thing, she uses holograms to help her out to save her bacon sometimes.
Yeah, true.
Or to trick the Misfits or whatever. So, should we get into these episodes here?
Yes, I think maybe we should.
Yeah.
Because actually, it's a two-parter.
Two-parter.
That we're talking about from the first season, episodes 23 and 24 to be precise. And the dates I found on these were, at least when they premiered, were February 8th and February 15th of 1987.
Wow.
So 1987, solidly in the 80s.
Yeah.
But kind of getting a little towards the upper end of the 80s. As you said, you and I are both getting a little bit older, maybe moving out of some of the cartoons and toy stuff at this point. But
definitely, I would have been in 8th grade. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, but the series was viable with plenty of people, though. Yeah, it was doing very well, and according to some sources, was number one in syndicated cartoons for a while, which was amazing to me. But yeah, it was very, very successful. But there's an interesting some interesting elements to this episode.
So the Gem Jam parts 1 and 2.
Yes, the Gem Jam.
Yeah, I love some Gem Jam.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't spread it on a toast. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we picked it for very specific reasons, or picked them. But it opens with Gems making a big announcement at a press conference event kind of thing.
Yeah, and right away I had some logic issues with this episode. Well, I mean, because it's like an exclusive event, right?
Right. Yeah.
But yet they've got one of the little girls watching the door.
Uh-huh.
There's a total lack of security here by Starlight Records and Jerica. Totally missed the ball on this.
Yeah.
As we see.
And I don't know why it's an exclusive event.
Yeah, it's essentially
other than
to announce something.
Yeah. It's just a press conference.
Yeah. I mean, so who do you think was there? I mean, Rolling Stone, I'm sure, was there, and Spin, and
right.
They would all be there, and
yeah, maybe because she has a film career too, so maybe Premiere.
Yeah. You think Hit Parader was there?
Maybe. Yeah. Circus.
Cream?
No.
Probably not.
I don't think Cream cared about this nonsense.
Yeah. Billboard, probably.
Billboard for sure.
Yeah.
And the VJ I mentioned, Lindsay.
Right. Okay.
And she's there.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. It's essentially like a big press event, and but they also kind of mentioned that there's some kind of list or something, or
right.
It's
some invitation kind of only.
Yeah. Invitation only. I guess they don't want just anybody getting in, but
no,
it wasn't like they had bloggers to worry about back then.
No.
I mean, who was trying to crash a press event? I guess there were people.
Well,
probably.
We'll find out later who crashes that event.
Well, yeah.
But and of course, pretty quickly we find out that the Misfits and Eric are trying to crash the event.
Yes, that is true. That's true. But they would crash anything, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. Yeah.
And they just want to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
They don't like it.
Yeah. They didn't want to wait for a day or so to see this on MTV News.
Yeah.
They need to know now.
It'd be cool if they'd had an animated Kurt Loder.
Yeah. Is Kurt Loder ever animated? He's pretty much sedated pretty much every time I've seen him, I think.
That's true.
Like a visual representation of a typically wry and reserved Kurt Loder.
Right. Or maybe they couldn't afford him and they would have gotten that.
Yeah.
Who's that other guy?
John Norris?
Yeah, John Norris.
Yeah. I would love to see
That's
Kurt
who
Loder.
MTV would have sent.
Yes, they would have. They might have asked for Kurt Loder, but they would have sent John Norris. Like, hey, John Norris is great. You know, he loves you. He really gets what you guys are doing. I doubt that Kurt Loder really was a big fan of Jem and the Holograms music.
No.
I don't think he would appreciate their stagecraft.
Jem and the Holograms announced a tour.
Yeah. I mean, he would announce it professionally. But,
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But he'd look dead inside.
Yeah, I think so. Until somebody off stage mentioned, hey, they might cover a Madonna song. Madonna? Oh, this might be worth checking out.
So, but Eric and the Misfits and Tech Rat and Clash, who's some other associate, are there in another room in the hotel, and they're trying to break in. I forget, like, he gives her some special camera, but then I don't remember what the deal with that camera was.
Yeah, that didn't really...
I guess it was sending just a feed to them in the other room.
I think that's all it was. Must have been for you.
Okay.
Didn't really do anything else.
No. But she does manage to sneak in by... she tells the girl, Bonnet, who's a Vietnamese girl who's manning the door, that her father is in the lobby, and Bonnet's, oh, is he redheaded? Yeah.
Yeah. Bonnet is vulnerable to this kind of suggestion, obviously.
Yeah, and she's desperate to find her father.
Yeah.
And she runs away, and then the Clash goes in there. But then we get the big announcement, and this is really the entire reason we chose these episodes.
It really is, yeah.
So they're going to do the Gem Jam. So Gem and the Holograms, of course, it's a fundraiser, and they're going to bring in some of the biggest stars in the world.
Oh, boy, do they ever.
Do you want to...
Well, I believe the first one to be introduced was Roland Owens.
Yes, the Grand Master of R&B.
Yeah. And Roland Owens looks a lot like a certain icon of R&B, I guess, in soul.
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
Right down to the sunglasses and
being blind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
kind of wearing like the oversized top. Or
like
whatever.
the African.
Yeah.
And he comes out and plays a little tiny bit on piano.
Yeah, does a few licks on the piano.
Yeah.
So Roland Owens will be there. Ron Cox. And looks a lot like Mick Jagger.
Yes, and he's introduced as Mr. Lips and Hips.
Mr. Lips and Hips.
Himself, Ron Cox.
Yes. He kind of comes out and sneers a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think he's like, yeah. Or something. I already got to say, his participation in this cartoon was minimal at best.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed.
Yeah.
Not one of the big ones. Looming much larger in the story is Lina Lerner. Yep, Lina Lerner. Might remind you a lot of Tina Turner.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, they just didn't even bother with that one.
No.
Lina Lerner,
And yet she had a very odd twist. Her son, Dominic, is with her, and he's pretty much a younger version of Michael Jackson.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
I admit they threw me with that one, but yeah, Dominic's got moves and his own brand of charisma. And we'll get into to Dominic later, but I guess he's part of the act, sort of.
Sort of, yeah.
But yeah, she seems a little... There's a weird dynamic going on between the two of them.
He's a little bit of a Robin to her Batman.
Yeah. I guess next was... Luna Dark was announced.
Yes.
And that's an interesting name, Luna Dark.
Yeah, yes. Moon and...
Yeah, darkness.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm not sure where that,
and I guess she's a Madonna stand-in, but she doesn't seem particularly Madonna-y.
Yeah, I think she's intended to be Madonna, but they don't really do a lot with her either, especially not to make that link clear.
Right.
Not as much as Roland Owens, I mean.
No.
Yeah, he's... And then I guess we got your favorite, right?
Yeah.
Johnny Deacon.
The King of Rock, Johnny Deacon.
The King of Rock, Johnny Deacon.
Who is not an Elvis
No.
person. He's a Bruce Springsteen stand-in.
Yeah.
He's got himself an acoustic guitar.
Right.
He's got himself a headband.
Yeah, the headband is what instantly I made him identifiable for me. Like, oh, okay, I know who that is.
A white T-shirt and jeans.
Yeah. Working class.
Working class, but he flies his own helicopter.
Yeah. Right. And that's pretty much the bill, although are we introduced to his drummer at this point?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because apparently it's a two-piece band. Johnny Deacon,
Yes.
His act is
like the White Stripes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So somewhere in this scene, we'd met Dominic before the introductions. He had a run-in with Chrissy, one of the girls.
Right.
And was, frankly, jerk.
Yeah, he's being very rude and,
Yeah.
and treating her like a servant or something.
Yeah.
And
And she didn't know who he was.
rude treatment of a servant. Yeah.
So it must not be that popular yet.
Yeah, that was odd too.
Yeah. And then this other girl, Ashley, who she played a big role in those origin stories.
Ah.
She briefly went over to the Misfits side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It
Okay.
was trouble, but clearly now she's on board with stuff. But we get a song from her.
Yes, she has dreams of being a star.
That's what the song was about.
That's pretty much what the song is about.
Yeah.
Yes.
It wasn't a bad song, actually.
No, it was a good character revealing song. And
Yeah. It's just
it was
disappointing that,
tied into the story. Yeah. So.
like, yeah, I don't want to. You got all these stars here.
Right. Yeah. I want to hear some Roland Owens or Johnny Deacon. Really.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a good opportunity. I'm kind of surprised now that you mention it. I wasn't really thinking of that when
Yeah.
I was watching it, but they didn't take advantage to kind of flex a little bit and make some songs in different styles, like tailored to
Right.
give them a spotlight a little bit. That would have been cool.
Yeah. But a lot of the focus of these episodes is these girls. So whatever. And then the Misfits bust in, and they're in these like special suits that are flashing lights and stuff.
Yeah, they're kind of cool. They're little costumes
Yeah.
and everything.
They're kind of cool.
Add a little excitement.
And then Eric Raymond really puts the screws to it with like this false flag operation. Like these punks. I mean, Jem calls them punks, so I'm
Yeah.
going to call them punks.
Yeah.
And they do seem so vaguely like skinheads or something.
And I think one even says "oi."
Yeah, a bunch of them are like, oi, oi,
Oi, Jem, oi.
Yeah. But they come in claiming to be Jem fans
Yeah.
and going after anyone who's not a Jem fan, which apparently is everybody in the room.
That's right. Like confronting people, like, hey, if you don't sufficiently like Jem,
Right.
you deserve a little of the old ultra violence or whatever.
Yeah, they're smashing guitars and
Yeah.
or not guitar cameras and
Yeah.
it seemed like they were all bald and all had like a weird like a really long Van Dyke beard or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there was one dude kind of in the background dressed kind of like Uncle Sam.
Eric Raymond's attention to detail really slipped as he got more and more off the rails as the 80s went on.
Yes.
And little things like that would stand out he just didn't care about.
Yeah, off the rails or on the rails.
Exactly.
And there's like a big fight, and Jem uses synergy to turn a couple guitars into dragons, and somebody steps on somebody. Lina Lerner steps on a punk's foot. And,
Yeah, like deliberately.
yeah,
Like it's like an attack mode.
yeah. And the girls help stop them.
And it's a disaster of an operation.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't even work. Like they don't blame.
Right.
Like they pretty much say like, well, it didn't have anything to do with us.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
So the false flag aspect of it did not work.
And they know who's behind it.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, the fact that the Misfits came in before that happened, that's pretty clear.
Yeah, it would have been much smarter of them just not to show up at all.
I guess the idea is that the punks were attacking the Misfits, but they didn't. So.
Yeah. Again, they could have gone a little bit extra and taken a few for the team, but they didn't even do that. So yeah, ill-conceived attack by Eric Raymond.
Yeah. So then we go to the Starlight Mansion, and everybody's going to stay there, and Dominic's still being a jerk to Chrissy. And then we get another song, and we only have 2 songs in this episode, too.
In part 1.
Yeah. And this is Bonnet dreaming about her father, and this is where we heard that the drummer is coming.
Yeah.
Randy James. He's Johnny Deacon's drummer. And somehow it comes out that he's a redheaded guy, too.
Yeah.
So she has this song, and again, I don't know. Visually, it was really interesting and like really kind of a complex issue for a kid's cartoon, which is her father was a soldier in the Vietnam War,
Right. Yeah.
presumably right before the fall of Saigon. And got his mom pregnant, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole musical about Miss Saigon's about that.
Yeah. And the song is talking about fathers and the need for fathers and everything, and kind of visually telling the story of what happened. Yeah, you're right. It's a little heady for this kind of cartoon, definitely.
But it also has some unfortunate musical choices.
Like kind of tying in with
The Asian.
I'm trying to figure out how to describe that, but some clearly meant to be obvious Asian cues.
Sort of, yeah. What would normally be used or had been used in the past for oh, this is a Chinese person music.
Yeah.
Like Hong Kong Phooey music.
Yeah, definitely. Not the kind of sensitive song like Roland Owens might have written about fatherhood.
Exactly, yeah.
They could have done that. Yeah, he could have. That man's a poet. He could have done such wonders with that theme.
I mean, Johnny Deacon, if he's a Bruce stand-in.
Yeah.
Nobody wrote songs about complicated issues with dads like Bruce Springsteen.
No, or searing songs about veterans coming home.
This is true, yeah. Totally his wheelhouse.
Yeah, maybe they specifically left Johnny Deacon out of this. They thought he might be a little too powerful for this.
Yeah. But clearly, and then Randy shows up and she thinks Randy's her dad.
Yeah. But she's not. She's just vague enough that he doesn't exactly realize that.
Yeah.
Like he just thinks she's being friendly or a fan or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And that he in no way looks like Max Weinberg.
No, he doesn't. Yeah. In case you're wondering, folks, I'm glad you mentioned that. Unfortunately, he does not. He's almost the opposite of Max Weinberg.
Yeah. You mean cool?
Well, I mean,
I love Max Weinberg, but he's not.
Did Max Weinberg serve in?
No, he was old enough to have served in
Yeah.
Vietnam, like most of them. But,
Right. I mean, this guy he's kind of like more of like an action hero almost.
Yeah. And we get there's this thing where Eric Raymond decides the Misfits are going to send balloons out over town again. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah.
It was just setting up something later.
Right.
I mean, they say Misfits on them, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I guess it's just a promotional stunt. And
Yeah.
the Misfits, frankly, don't get it either. Like, why are we doing this stupid thing?
Right.
Yeah, it was up on a roof.
He must have gotten a deal on balloons. And,
Yeah.
As we record this, there's a global helium shortage. You may have heard, Mike. You heard
really?
about this?
No.
There is apparently like helium is in really short supply, and it's really concerning. Like scientists and actually like party stores are going out of business because of this.
Oh, wow.
And I think you can make a direct line back to the excess of the 80s,
Yeah.
where you would think nothing of launching
Right.
hundreds of balloons into the sky for a publicity stunt
Yeah.
like this.
So not only do those balloons float out to the ocean probably and clog up the ocean, but
Yeah.
they drained the world's helium supply.
That's right. That dastardly Eric Raymond
Yeah.
instigating a global helium crisis.
Well, I feel bad for the party stores, but there probably is a reason to be concerned with something like the scientists being concerned.
Yeah.
That might be a bigger issue.
Yeah. I never knew that helium was so important beyond just like children's birthday parties, but apparently it is.
Well, blimps. I'm sure, everything has a purpose
Everything, yeah.
in nature. There might be some bacteria or something that breathes helium.
That's true. It's all checks and balances, you're saying.
Yeah.
Like nature.
Right.
Turn. There's
Yeah.
a season.
Yeah. To quote
Johnny
a
Deacon.
song quoting the Bible, I think.
Yeah. That was on Johnny Deacon's third album.
Yeah.
His serious album.
His breakout album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the time, no problems with helium, so
Yeah.
Eric Raymond can use all the helium he wants.
Even if there were a helium crisis, I think Eric Raymond would go ahead and use all the helium.
Oh, and he'd have ways to get it. He can get
Oh, yeah.
things that other people might not be able to get as easily, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. And we got a brief volleyball scene.
Oh, yeah.
That was
that's
cool.
Right.
I like that. Just all the musicians and stuff hanging out.
Yeah, ahead of the Gem Jam.
Yeah.
They're not just flying in for just the concert. They're hanging out for like
Yeah.
multiple days, and
days, yeah.
getting to know each other.
Yeah, that's nice. And these kids get to hang out with stars.
Yeah.
But Johnny's supposed to talk to Rio about the sound system. And this is really about all that Rio does. Well, he helps out later, but he's pretty low-key in these episodes.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be jealous. It seemed like there was going to be like a triangle.
Yeah, they didn't really do that here,
No.
did they?
He was wearing a terrible outfit, though.
Yeah. Well,
For some
maybe
reason,
that's-
he wearing a safari hat. I don't know. But Johnny flies in his helicopter.
Yeah.
The aforementioned helicopter.
very impressive.
And decides to take Jem for a spin.
Yeah, there's some kind of spark between those two.
There is a spark, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Rio should be jealous.
Yeah, he should be.
He's too concerned with that sound system.
Yeah, he's
He's
focused on
actually,
the
I
job.
think that his disappointment was more like, but we were supposed to check the sound
Yeah,
system.
exactly. How can I do a good sound check?
Whatever. Randy, can you do it?
Yeah.
Nobody but Johnny can.
Yeah.
Yeah. But while they're flying around, the balloons hit the helicopter and like they almost crash.
Yeah, the balloons really caused some troubles.
Yeah. And they almost crash into the Misfits Records building.
Yeah, that's right.
As I wrote, it's the day the music almost died. And can you imagine?
Oh, man.
Johnny Deacon and Jem die in a horrible helicopter crash.
That would have changed the industry forever. We'd still be feeling the
They
ramifications
take out the
of that.
Misfits.
Yeah. Oh, man. That would have been the worst day in music history. Just missed one there.
And then luckily the version, the Gem World version of Don McLean, his song would have only been like 3 minutes because the other songs are only a minute. So, it wouldn't have been so bad.
Yeah, there's some better things about that, yeah.
Right. Luckily, Johnny sorts it out.
Yeah. He's an accomplished pilot, really.
Yeah.
I mean, he shows some poise.
Yeah.
Guiding them out of that.
But in the sort of final bit of this episode, Tech Rat uses a gadget, creates a gadget, and the Misfits go to the airport. They find out what flight Luna Dark's on. Mm-hmm. They're able to use this gadget to mess up the signs at the airport.
Yeah.
So they go and they pretend to be chauffeurs and they kidnap Luna Dark. And Gem and the Holograms can't find her.
Right.
But they see them on the way out and they follow them to this mansion and Gem sneaks in and then these dogs attack her. And that's the end of that episode. Quite the cliffhanger. I mean, it's not the end because they play the 2 songs again.
Yeah, we get the get the video kind of tacked on again. And,
yeah.
And there's a PSA.
Oh, I missed the PSA.
There's a PSA. I think after the videos, it's a very brief one about getting lost. It's only like 30 seconds or so, but it's like a young girl's lost, and the idea is that stay calm and see a security guard, and then they do, and like, oh yeah, your sister's looking for you, and go, hey, she's over here, something like that, and then they get reunited. And so the idea is like, if you get lost in a situation like that, find someone, an authority that can help, and then they will help you. So there's a good little message there at the end.
That's my mistake for fast forwarding.
Yeah, well.
Being like, I don't want to see these songs again.
Yeah, well, I can't say I blame you, but.
I have to go back and watch the whole thing.
Well, I think I gave you the gist of it. As long as you recognize the lesson, Mike, so if you ever get lost.
If you get lost, panic.
Yeah, well.
Set yourself on fire.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. No.
Wait, no.
No. Hey. No, none of this. Hey, if you and I are ever out in public and we get separated, I want you to follow these instructions. I want you to, don't panic.
Don't panic.
Go to like a security guard or a policeman because I will be going to a security guard policeman to find you.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll never find each other.
Right. Okay. I think I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see about that.
So if we get separated, I'll just go home.
Yeah. Yeah. Or that. Yeah. You could. Yeah. And then you can just like text me when you get back, so I know you're okay.
Yeah. Of course, if I'm your ride, that's.
Well, that could be a problem too.
Yeah.
It could be a problem too. Then I would be lost.
Yeah. What would you do?
I'd panic. Are you kidding? I don't know what to do in that situation.
Just stay where you are.
Call an Uber.
Yeah. It's really a much better world for getting lost.
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier to get lost these days than it was back then.
Anyway, we go to part 2. You think Gem's going to escape these dogs?
Well, I was skeptical because these dogs really looked menacing, and I thought they were done for, to be honest.
And she had already used synergy to make herself look like Pizzazz.
Yeah.
And the dogs didn't care.
Right, so...
Because apparently this is Pizzazz's parents' home or something.
Yeah, I mean...
I was confused.
It was a good idea, but if that didn't work, it was like, it's over. I mean, this is going to be a really sad second episode, I thought.
And these are mean dogs.
Yeah, anything could happen.
Yeah. Oh, but it worked out. She used synergy to create a giant dog, and then the dogs freaked out and ran away.
Well, I was wrong, I'll admit. I'll take the L on that one.
Yeah.
They got out of that.
Yeah, and she gets Luna and they escape. So, good, the Gem Jam won't be messed up now. Because imagine if Luna Dark didn't show up.
Yeah, that would be a big letdown.
Ron Cox would have had to sing by himself.
Yeah. And he looks pretty silly doing those duets by himself,
He does, yeah. But he gives it his best. He switches sides of the microphone.
Right, yeah.
He's good.
Well, he's probably, his favorite person is himself, is how the rumors are. So he would probably enjoy singing to himself as well.
That's true.
That'd probably be his ideal partner.
What do you think the Gem version of David Bowie would be like?
Oh, interesting idea. It would probably be like the Modern Love era David Bowie, with like some kind of suit with like the tie and
yeah. What would be a good name for him?
Ooh, good question. Something like I'm thinking Peter for the first name, and then like some solid solid Anglo name.
Right. Peter Swiss Army.
Yeah, Peter Swiss Army.
Yeah.
How about Peter Blade?
Ooh, Peter Blade, yeah. That's a good...
That's rock and roll.
That is a really good cartoon rock and roll name. And then he and Ron Cox could do a duet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll bet they could.
In a way, though, the Gem, sort of, their makeup looks sort of like, Ziggy Stardust kind of.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. That's true. Definitely kind of a throwback to some more glam rocky even kind of stuff there too. Yeah.
And there's also like the dogs then chase the Misfits, and the Misfits have to lock themselves in the kennel.
Yeah.
Apparently they belong to her dad, and he's the only one who can control them.
Yeah, not even them.
And
Her daughter.
Pizzazz.
Or his
Do
daughter.
you know Pizzazz's real name?
No, I did not.
Phyllis.
Phyllis. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, it comes up in one of those early episodes. She'd never call me that.
Ah, okay.
And then I saw it in the documentary on the DVD. There's, I guess, an episode that gives some of her backstory. Her dad calls her Phyllis also.
Yeah, that drives her crazy, doesn't it?
Yeah. And there's some more, like there's a Bonnet scene where Randy is jogging and she roller skates with him and then falls and he takes care of her in a very parental way. He really does like her.
Yeah, seems like a decent guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, that's very paternal.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And we see Dominic being a jerk to Chrissy again. This guy.
Yeah, what an attitude he's got.
Yeah.
He's really entitled.
Yeah.
Kind of spoiled, really.
He is.
It doesn't speak well of Lina Lerner's parenting skills, honestly.
No, she's too busy. She's too busy being Lina Lerner to be mom.
Yeah, it's very poignant. Well said. Well said.
She drags him around the world. No other kids.
Doesn't give him a chance to really prove himself.
Doesn't teach him how to swim.
No.
But, Chrissy gives him a talking to in the form of a song.
That's the best way to do it. The best way to do it, really.
And did you know there was no graphic in that song?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they don't always do it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
If you normally do it, what's to be gained by leaving it off? I don't get that.
Maybe they just forgot.
Yeah, they just forgot.
Or I thought, well, it's one of the kids, so I don't know if the other ones. The other ones might not have had them. Either.
Oh, that they make a distinction with.
Yeah.
Okay, that could be. I'm a little disappointed.
They're not professionals.
Yeah. You and me, we're into like the credits and things like that. So it's a little disappointing not to get the information on that song. But
I don't really remember much about this song.
It was about
Don't push me around.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But we start to learn a little bit more about him, though. There's like the jam. People are going to jam beforehand.
Yeah, they're rehearsing, which I think
Yes.
is very professional of them. I like that.
But Lina won't let Dominic. He's not ready for this big a show.
No.
So then he walks in on the girls, like they're rehearsing their little band, and he tells them they stink, basically.
Yeah.
And then later he's out by the pool, and some of the girls invite him in the pool, and he's like, I wouldn't swim anywhere where that one had been or something, because Chrissy's getting out of the pool. So she shoves him in, and then he almost dies.
Yeah, he can't swim.
No, he can't swim. He just sinks right to the bottom.
Yeah, and Lina's wrapped up in her music apparently at this point, and
Yeah.
Dominic's just wandering around.
Yeah.
I mean, he's old enough to know better than to get in situations like this.
Right.
But
He shouldn't even be near a pool if he can't swim.
yeah, at
Is
least
there
not
a PSA about that?
not on this one, but should at least have some of those floaty wings or something like that, or be walking around with an inner tube around
I'm
his
too
waist.
cool for floaty wings.
Yeah. See, that's another way Dominic is wrong.
If you think drowning because you don't know how to swim is cool, then you're wrong.
Yes. Very dramatically and again well said. Yes.
But Chrissy saved him, and you'd think he'd be grateful, but he's not.
No, he's still cantankerous.
Yeah, he bails on the dumb zoo trip. Says to stay there alone.
Yeah, they're out to go to the zoo, a nice little excursion for everybody, and he'd rather be by himself.
Yeah, but Chrissy stays because she thinks he'll need a friend.
Yeah,
Which is
very
nice.
noble of her, passing up a chance to go to the zoo.
She's observant and seeing, he might be a jerk for reasons.
Yeah.
Not just because he was born.
Yeah.
That way.
Right. Good for her.
Yeah. But Bonnet's a little disappointed because she thought the zoo trip was just her and Randy.
Yeah, not everybody.
Yeah.
That's right. That was kind of sad.
Yeah. And then we have the interlude with the Misfits.
Yeah, they get their chance, their gimmick video.
Yeah. They're ticked off. Nothing's working. And then, then we get a video called Give Me a Gimmick, which that might be the musical highlight of the show.
You think so?
Well, the jam at the end is cool, too.
Yeah.
The All-Star Jam. But, it was a pretty cool song.
Yeah, they showed some personality.
I figured you enjoyed the frequent use of the word gimmick.
Yes. If only they could have worked in some more wrestling lingo in there, I would have been really happy. But, yeah, it was not bad.
Yeah. And Tekrat has something, but we don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
They're just blue and glowing.
I think the Misfits are their music is particularly is better in short doses, small doses.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to listen to a whole album of Misfits music.
No, it's very harsh.
Yeah.
Like it maybe is more 80s than the Gem music.
I think that's probably fair to say.
Like the percussion is very mechanical. And,
Yeah.
they just kind of have a weird way of singing.
Now, in fairness, they don't have Kimber's songwriting chops behind them. So maybe if you put the Misfits and gave them like a decent songwriter, they could elevate their game. But
it could be they're also stuck with that attitude.
Yeah.
That's their identity. So.
Right. Can you imagine what a concert writer would be like if it was written by the Misfits? I mean, how demanding must they be?
God.
It'd be, ridiculous.
Yeah.
But all the evidence we have in the show indicates that Jim and the Holograms are probably more talented than the Misfits, is what I would say.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
What are the M&Ms that Van Halen wouldn't?
Was it the brown M&Ms?
I think it's the brown ones. So the Misfits only want the brown M&Ms that were taken out of Van Halen M&Ms.
Yeah. It's an incredibly specific request, but if you want them to play, you gotta do it.
Yeah. Back at the zoo, we see some of the kids enjoying watching the wacky bears.
Yeah.
And
one of my favorite parts of the zoo is getting right up to the bears and watching them play around.
Yeah, I'm sure it was just to show us bears.
Yeah.
Now, someone does, I think Rio does remind us that bears might look fun, but they are dangerous.
True.
Informational.
Yeah.
Sort of a PSA built in.
Again, the social consciousness of the series comes through.
And then Bonnet finally makes it clear that she thinks Randy's her dad, and he explains that that's not possible. That he left Vietnam way before she was born. And was never in the town she was born in.
Yeah.
And so she jumps in the bear pit.
Yeah. She didn't take that very well, did she?
No. So, although frankly, it's a different bear pit.
I guess it must be.
The other ones were black bears.
Yeah.
And then these are like grizzly bears or something.
Yeah. They're still pretty fearsome, even more fearsome than those dogs, I think.
Yeah. There was an episode I watched online where Jem had to face off with a bear in a cave.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Frequent menace.
Yeah. Bears and rock and roll just do not mix.
No. So Johnny and Randy and Rio form a human ladder. But they're still not big enough to reach her. So Jerica jumps down and gets Bonnet on the ladder, and then she climbs up.
That's real courage there.
It is, yeah. She didn't even have to use her gem nonsense to do that.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, but, she walked away from it, so I'm not going to second-guess her decision there. It worked.
Yeah. So another PSA you could have, if you find out that the man you think is your father is not your father, and you happen to be at a zoo, don't jump in a bear pit.
Yeah, no good will come of that.
No.
No good will come of that. Maybe just go into like the reptile room or something and just sit in a corner for a while.
Yeah.
And be sad. That's okay.
Yeah, I think so.
But bear pit, no.
No.
Not a good move, Chrissy. Or not Chrissy, Bonnet.
Yeah. No lion, no pits.
Yeah. Yeah. Pit is usually not a safe place at a zoo. Anything with pit, it's not somewhere the human should be.
No. Then we finally get the big gem jam.
Oh, yeah.
Or we start to.
Yeah.
But those darn Misfits.
I know. I mean, this is kind of like the problem here it's kind of like, to go back to pro wrestling. Sometimes, if you send somebody out to do something that's going to be booed or hated, the idea is that you put the heat on the performer, right? But if you do it wrong, you run the risk of putting the heat on the promotion because the fans get upset at whoever's doing this behind the scenes. And so in this case, I think this is a good example of that, where the heat is supposed to be on the Misfits. Yeah. But to me, the heat is really on the producers of the cartoon because I wanted to see more of the Gem Jam, and I was just annoyed that it didn't go on longer.
And that's probably how the audience they didn't know about the producers of the cartoon, but
no. But I think it may have backfired because instead of thinking, all those dang Misfits, again, it's probably like, oh, what a stupid show! They didn't let us get to see this Gem Jam that they've been building up for the better part of 2 episodes. Yeah.
So the Misfits fly in on like this flying platform thing. The Tech Rat is controlling from the ground.
Pretty cool. And
they got their lighty suits on again. And people think it's a UFO, and then they panic and they break the remote control and they crash.
Yeah, like all the fans are stomping around, and somebody literally stomps on the remote control, and that's pretty much the end of that scheme.
And then we get the jam all night long.
Yeah, no, so we do get to see a video for that. Yeah, which is good. Yeah, I personally would have liked to see more of the Gem Jam, the communal concert experience, as opposed to kind of the slicker, more polished video. But still, it's something, I guess. Yeah. With it, that how can it not be worthwhile with that great assemblage of talent that Jem and Jerica has collected?
That's right. So to reiterate, Jem and the Holograms, Roland Owens,
correct.
Luna Dark and Ron Cox are paired together.
Yeah, yeah.
You get Lina Lerner, and there were some musicians, some like horn players or something.
Yeah,
going
she
with
brought
her.
some kind of brass section.
Dancers or something. And then we got Johnny Deacon and Randy James.
Yeah.
And that's how they're introduced.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Good for Randy James, I guess.
Yeah.
To be on equal footing with Johnny Deacon.
Right. Unfortunately, Peter Blade was not there.
No, Peter Blade
Yeah.
was overseas. He couldn't make it.
Now, so those are some pretty big stand-ins for 80s people, for big 80s people. If we count Dominic, then we have a Michael Jackson, we have a Madonna, we have a Bruce,
Yeah.
we have a Tina Turner,
Yeah.
who I kind of forget about when I'm thinking of those big names, but she was huge around then.
For like 2 or 3 years, definitely.
Yeah.
And especially to get another female in, she was probably. Oh, yeah, you could argue that she was the second biggest female behind Madonna.
Yeah, and Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
And he was going through a big period around then.
Right.
So who's missing, you think? Prince?
Yeah, Prince is the one that jumps out.
Yeah.
Prince and maybe Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Probably Prince is the biggest one, I think, with the Purple Rain.
Yeah. Lionel Richie, maybe?
Okay. Lionel Richie. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think of him as
Well, at the time, Lionel Richie was very big.
Yeah.
Because if you go back to like the We Are the World video, Lionel Richie was,
I mean, he had huge sales around that.
Yeah.
Those 3 albums.
Right. I mean, I guess
there are lots of other people you could.
Yeah, we're looking for like individual acts, more or less, too, is the big thing too. So like, not necessarily like a Huey Lewis and the News or Genesis. Although you could have had Phil Collins. You know what they should have had? They should have had Phil Collins fly into the Gem Jam from like another gig.
Right.
And make a big deal out of that.
Yeah.
Although maybe that would have conflicted with Randy James, I guess.
Yeah.
You think Randy James, big-footed, kept Phil Collins off of the Gem Jam bill?
He doesn't seem like the type that would, but.
No, he doesn't, but.
And Johnny Deacon seems like a real swell guy, too.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Phil, their version of Phil was a Misfits fan.
Yeah.
That's what the Misfits should have done instead of trying to put, sabotage this thing, was just put on their own.
Yeah.
The Misfits Melee or something.
Yeah, put on like a competing show.
Yeah.
And
get all the nasty people.
Yeah, get like the Sex Pistol, like Johnny Rotten. And
Yeah. In those in the DVD extras, they talked about them being sort of a female version of the Clash.
Really?
And they said they didn't sound like them, but that was the sort of attitude they were going for.
Interesting.
Minus the politics.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought of 2 people that maybe not by 1987. See, 1987 is kind of the key.
Yeah, and
like
of course,
Boy George and Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah.
Or maybe a little bit had peaked by then.
Right, and the other the animation lead time, you couldn't really be getting the most current people.
Right. So we're probably thinking like 1985, really the peak,
Yeah.
and which ties in with some of these other ones, 84, 85.
Right.
And probably like Stevie Wonder makes sense because he's visually interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe they wanted to stay away from Boy George.
Yeah.
It's a little too edgy, and I'm surprised. Maybe Cyndi Lauper, that might have been an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, she seems like maybe one of the inspirations for the show.
Yeah, yeah.
Or the toys, at least. So.
Yeah. Other than that, I think they covered a lot of it. I think they did a pretty good job.
Yeah. I mean, I was maybe a little disappointed in these episodes based on my expectations for it because of reading that these characters were in it. But
yeah,
and as you said, the Gem Jam was a little truncated and music video style. But
right, especially because it was a 2-part episode.
Yeah.
It seems like they had plenty of room to maybe do a little bit more with the celebrities. But at least they did involve the celebrities in the. I mean, they didn't have a lot of personality, but I mean, Johnny Deacon, helped save a girl from a bear pit and flies a helicopter, and avoids a fatal crash, and
that's in that era of muscle-bound Bruce.
Yeah.
People probably thought that's the kind of stuff he did.
Yeah, you're right.
Flew helicopters and saved people from bear pits.
Totally. Yeah, and the other thing too is like at the time apparently it was still like a weekly thing, so you had to wait like a week for that cliffhanger with the dogs to be resolved, and then this would be the payoff. Like a week later, it wouldn't be just like you come home after school and see how it finishes the next day.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a long while to wait. So they could have done a little bit more with the 2-part format, but it's definitely some interesting elements.
Yeah.
I think Eric Raymond kind of fades into the background by the end of this. He's not much of in part 2 he's not as big a persona as he is in part 1.
No, I think the Misfits are so fed up with him.
Yeah.
His dumb plans.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't a good episode for him.
No.
Did you happen to see the PSA at the end of this one?
What? No.
This is an equally important one.
Because they were replaying
Yes.
Chrissy's video, and I'm like, I don't want to watch that.
They did again where they replayed videos, and I think they did the Misfits thing again.
Yeah, and I had enough of that too. So. Even though I claimed it was the best song.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, it was the best song once.
Yeah.
So the second PSA shows one of the youngsters at a mall and sees like a cassette tape, and she really wants it, but she doesn't have the money to get it. But why doesn't she just take it? But no, that's against the law, and that's wrong.
It is?
Yes, it is. Shoplifting is illegal and bad.
Oh yeah. Okay. Right.
Yes.
You're supposed to pay for stuff.
Yeah. So the idea is
so she saw it in a store. She didn't just see it on the floor.
No. It's all like she pulls it off like the rack. Yeah.
Yeah. At first, when you said it, I actually did.
Oh yeah.
She's in a mall and she finds a cassette on the floor.
Oh yes, a record store.
That was the image in my mind.
Yeah. These are our 2 to 11-year-old demographic is totally confused.
Yeah, I'm
they
sorry.
They used to have record stores in a mall.
Yes.
And you would have like racks where you'd have actual what they called cassette tapes would be lined up, and you'd take one and go to the register and pay for it.
Yeah. Also, by this time, probably had some CDs.
Yeah.
You might be familiar with that. Your parents might have those.
Yes.
And these other things, records.
Yes.
That's why it's called a record store, and they're like a big CD. But your parents might have those too because they might be hipsters.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Now what they didn't have is it almost looked more like as I recall, more like an 8-track kind of packaging or whatever. But what they didn't have was it looked more like just a self-contained cassette. It didn't have like the huge, gigantic. Remember the big
security thing?
Yeah, the big
plastic.
Totally unnecessary plastic thing for security purposes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But somebody suggests, hey, why don't you ask your parents how you can do chores or how you can earn the money so that you can buy it yourself.
Yeah.
And then, oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Right.
So there you have it.
But then how's she going to listen to it in the meantime?
She won't. She's just going to have to wait.
She's going to have to be like you and tape songs off the radio.
That's right. Well, that's a little bit of a gray area. They don't have a PSA for that.
Boy, remember when like there would be a song you liked and that like it wasn't on an album yet?
Yeah.
And the only way to hear it was on the radio?
Yeah.
So you'd listen to, I don't know, all 4 hours of the top 40 just to see if that song was on there?
Waiting for that song, yeah.
Yeah.
And you couldn't like, maybe every now and then you'd get like a tease like coming up but a lot of times, in the top 40, you wouldn't get those clues. You'd have to just hear it as it came up.
Yeah. You might have to listen to a lot of garbage in between.
Yeah, and you might not get the cue just right. You might get a little bit of extra or come in late.
You went to the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah, now, I believe that was a bit of a gray area, recording for personal home use. But
yeah.
They should have done a PSA about that. Like, actually, Chrissy, according to the 1984 Supreme Court decision, recording for fair use is okay as long as it's not for commercial distribution. Yes. Oh, great. You mean I can tape my own songs?
Right. Somehow that one would get left off the DVD.
I think so, yeah. Conveniently be missing that one. I'm not sure. So, what do you think happened to Jerrica Benton's? What do you think happened to Starlight Records in the years after the series? Do you think it thrived? Do you think it was bought out by a larger company, maybe?
No, I think it because of its connection to
the mob.
Yeah. The charity connection.
Oh, okay, yes.
That it continued to thrive as a giant independent label.
Ah, interesting.
Which is, not something that would happen in our world, and also, because she had synergy and all that, she was able to kind of see the coming digital age.
Yes.
And prepare for it and be on top of things.
That makes sense.
And find a way. And maybe by then she'd made so much money that she just started giving away her music.
That'd be interesting, like a radical.
Yeah, or doing like the Radiohead thing.
Yeah.
Pay what you want,
right.
And know that this money goes completely to the Starlight Foundation.
Right.
And she's, of course, the Starlight Foundation, part of what it's doing is creating the next generation of musicians.
Oh, exactly, yes.
So Ashley did get to be a star.
Right.
And with the other girls.
And really, the music industry is like any other entertainment industry. It's about creating stars.
Yeah.
And if you create big stars, everything else will follow. But I'm sure that they were also selling their share of merch as well.
Yeah.
I bet they were way out in front of that one.
Yes. Now, the Misfits, I think they would have had a much more VH1 behind the music kind of story.
Yeah.
Definitely a further descent into bad behavior, self-destructive behavior, but eventually a kind of redemption. And you know what label they're on now?
What label's that?
Starlight Records.
Wow. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah.
Who would have thunk it? I could definitely see that.
Like Jem and the Holograms are pretty much retired, but
yeah.
And Kimber's writing their songs.
Yeah. Oh.
She was able to find a voice for herself in their music, so they still have some edge. but it's more crafted.
That's good. I could also see Starlight Records kind of getting into environmentally friendly packaging, things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe doing some innovations with the live touring and branching out into multimedia.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about using holograms is a lot of your staging is you're not creating environmental
that's right.
disaster.
Very little carbon footprint for Gem and the Holograms.
Yeah.
Well, okay. You've
and they probably found a way to because we didn't mention this, the Rockin' Roadster.
The Rockin' Roadster.
Their cool car.
Yeah.
They found a way to fuel that on pure optimism.
Yeah. Pure optimism. That is synergy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I believe now that they would still be thriving nowadays in some capacity.
Yeah.
And Eric Raymond is probably in a white-collar federal prison somewhere.
Yeah, but he's still pulling the strings on something.
Yeah. He's got his hand in all kinds of things.
Yeah. Zipper's there, doing odd jobs for him.
Yeah, and Johnny Deacon's still very big.
Yeah.
I wonder if he and Randy James are still together. Do you think?
I think it depends on the project.
Yeah. Maybe they.
Johnny Deacon just finished Johnny Deacon on Broadway, of course.
Yeah, right.
But he's talking about doing another album with, I was going to say the band, but with Randy James.
Okay, of course. Good to bring him back.
Yeah.
I'm sure Luna Dark constantly reinvented herself in the following decades.
Right. Lina Lerner retired to Switzerland.
Yeah, I think so. Ron Cox probably still at it.
Yeah.
Timeless. And Roland Owens, beloved.
Yeah, every 20 years or so he does something.
Yeah.
Other than that, he shows up at award shows.
Right. Does the circuit.
Yeah.
But he's still respected.
Yeah.
Now, Dominic, I don't know what. It seems like Dominic really turned it around, though. I kind of want to be optimistic about Dominic.
Yeah, we forgot it. There was a little thing where he climbed a water tower.
Oh, yes.
And
like
Chrissy, I was like, oh no, somebody's going to be falling off this water tower.
Yeah, I guess he went up to help Chrissy,
he was just getting away from her.
Yeah.
Chrissy tried to climb, and she's afraid of heights.
Yeah.
And she was able to admit that she was afraid of that. That seemed to be his problem. He couldn't admit that he was afraid.
Right. He was putting up a front about all this stuff.
Exactly. So he ended up helping her down, and then she said she would teach him how to swim.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
Yeah.
I think his issues go beyond just fear of swimming, though, fear of water. I think he's got some issues with Lina Lerner that they need to really work through.
Yeah.
And hopefully they did.
Yeah. I hope his life turned out better than his doppelganger.
Yeah. I hope so, too. I think so with the positive influence of the Starlight Foundation. I think he was on the right track.
Yeah. I think so. Well, that's good.
Yeah. So what do you think?
I'm intrigued by this cartoon. I mean, it's more, like I said, more complicated, a little more sophisticated than you might think.
Yeah.
And I think some of the visual stuff is pretty cool.
I think it's probably better now for the digital age. Even on DVD, we can fast forward through the repetition of the videos. And because if you take out some of the videos, these are like 18 or 19 minutes probably. If you take out the repeated videos, and you can get through them pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's not my thing necessarily. I would be more likely to watch like the Gem Jam episodes. I'd see more of like Johnny Deacon. You could do a great cartoon spin-off of Johnny Deacon flying helicopters and rescuing kids.
That would be a cool adventure show.
I mean,
rock star action.
Yeah.
Star.
I'd like to think that this was a backdoor pilot for a Johnny Deacon spin-off series, but I respect it, and I like the PSAs. As far as the toys go, it seems to me like the toys, if you just look at them, and I think that's one of the big things, right, that killed them is like the Barbie line pretty much killed the Gem. So the cartoon seems like the TV show did better than the dolls after a certain point.
I think so, yeah.
65 episodes is a good run for a cartoon series, but if you just look at the toys, I don't remember physically like holding them or anything, but they just kind of looked like a little cheaper and looked like lesser quality than the Barbie and the Rockers ones. So maybe it just wasn't. It had its run, but as a lot of like those toys in the 80s, they kind of flamed out pretty quickly.
Right, and I guess Barbie was just hard to compete with.
Yeah, I think, and maybe one of the articles that you found made a good point that like if you get Barbie and the Rocker dolls, all the fashions and outfits work with every Barbie.
Right.
The gems were scaled a little bit differently, so that if you got them, they would have you wouldn't have that reservoir of like accessories and stuff like right there if you already collected Barbie. So that was probably a big disadvantage, which is kind of sad, really. And if that had a big impact, it's kind of like, well, yet another case where the big guy wins over the little guy.
Yeah.
Because they've already they're out there so much that they can just squash this by putting out their own line.
And even innovations like rockin' hair curls.
Yeah. Rockin' hair curls.
Or the season of gold or whatever that's about.
You know, the one thing that they apparently didn't do was like interactive, right? Like, did you see any like Teddy Ruxpin or something like that? Because that sort of became popular in the '80s. Like, you play a cassette or music having a doll move. That didn't seem to be like what they were doing. Like,
No.
like gem dolls that moved on their own would have been like the next level to really get some more high-end toys into it. But I guess they didn't really do that.
No. I guess they figured kids would move them themselves.
Oh, there's a radical idea. Kids will move the toys themselves? What?
Yeah. And of course, the toys don't really have any of the adventure aspects. I think there was probably a Rockin' Roadster, but I don't think it's just the music part.
Yeah,
and
the
fashion
playset
part.
was like a stage.
Yeah, the playset was a stage, or there was another one that was her dressing room, and
yeah. I mean, the show had, like you mentioned, like car chases and action sequences, helicopters. So, yeah, they didn't really get into a lot of that with the toys. But and those are the kind of elements like that they were hoping that the boys would stick around for and watch, right?
Yeah, especially, I guess, when it was part of that anthology. It's like, well, it's in between two boy shows. We need you to stay around.
Right.
But have your sisters wander in. And
we
don't care if your sisters watch
right.
Inhumanoids and the Bigfoot truck thing. But
yeah. We haven't mentioned the theme song, and I think we should, because I think it's a great theme song.
It is a great theme song, yeah.
Jem is truly, truly, truly outrageous.
Yeah.
And that's one that, I tell you, just anecdotally, you talk to people, they remember the song, and I think, I've experienced that.
Yeah.
One of our main fans told me that she was, could recite the lyrics on demand. And she kind of did. I didn't quite sing them, but...
Well, and one of our fans who voted on Instagram quoted the truly, truly outrageous part.
Yeah, it's really good. And I think on one of the extras, the singer, she said that she had a cold.
Right.
And they actually used her audition recording.
Yeah.
Which surprised her.
Yeah.
But it worked out really well. It kind of starts out with a jam, ooh, jam. But it's kind of like got that clamor and just like that little mystery to it. I mean, this isn't my favorite cartoon now, but I can see how it would be appealing to kids in the '80s. The cartoon and the theme song, everything seems to do what it set out to do.
Yeah, I think they should revive it.
You think so?
I think so. I think there's an audience.
Well, this could be.
They did. There was a comic series for a few years recently that I didn't read, but I guess I've heard was pretty good. I've read things by the woman who wrote it, and she's like writing a bunch of Marvel stuff now. She's really a pretty strong writer. So,
so the property's still out there.
Yeah, and maybe it was going to be part of the shared Hasbro universe.
Yeah, I bet it was probably.
Sorry. Yeah. Rick almost did a spit take.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure what's going on because, like, there was, you mentioned these aren't really available streaming. I think they've probably been on Netflix in the past.
They were, yeah.
But now the Hasbro stuff, it seems like it's up in the air. They had their own Roku channel for a while. It seems to be defunct.
Is Hub gone on TV?
Yeah, I think it became Discovery Kids and changed back. And I don't think it's around in the same form anymore. So I'm not sure what the deal is with some of this Hasbro stuff. But
right. The DVDs were Shout Factory.
Yeah, I think I've seen some of the G.I. Joes. I think some of these cartoons are showing up on other streaming services, but. I don't know. So if you want to check out Jem, probably best bet is to go to some smaller streaming services or smaller video sharing services, or get your hands on the DVDs, which I think they're still in print. But they did a good job on the DVDs.
Yeah, they seem pretty good. Yeah. It was nice that they put extras in them.
Yeah.
Just you should just buy all of them because I don't even know if they sell them separately, but the bonus stuff is all in the season 3 set.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually not the way it's done, but
except for the video jukebox. Which I didn't partake in.
If you want to see the videos yet again.
Without story.
Yeah. Stripped out of their context, watch the same video again.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, it's nice to have the option.
Yeah. All right, well, I think we're, wait. Show's over, Synergy.
Yeah. New from Battle of the Network Show's Toys, the BOTNS Podcast Studio Playset. It looks like a TV, but when you open it up, you'll find everything you need for your Rick and Mike dolls to record new episodes. 2 chairs, a table, 2 microphones, 2 water glasses, a laptop, and a mixer. Make up your own podcast or use the included cassette to recreate classic episodes. You decide with the BOTNS Podcast Studio Playset. Rick and Mike dolls sold separately. Join us next time for another exciting episode of Battle of the Network Shows. Learn more, leave feedback, and suggest future episodes at battleofthenetworkshows.com. Follow us on Twitter at BatNetShows, and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Battle of the Network Shows.